Let me get the recording going and we're going to get started, and I'll give it just a minute to let everybody get settled in and get on the call here, but good to see you guys. Really excited to have Vincent on the call with us today. So give me just a second, let everybody get situated, and we'll get rolling here. Let's start. Anybody have any wins that happened the last week they want to talk about? Any wins? That many, huh?
Well, it's Randy's birthday. I'll just say that so that everyone can wish him a happy birthday.
No singing, promise, no singing, but thank you. Thanks, Nikita, for outing me. I was in a success coaching training yesterday, and one of the gals, it was her birthday. And she was like, we got in a breakout room. She says, my birthday, but don't tell anybody. I'm like, I won't, I promise. And I held to that. So it's all good. But well, good to see everybody. So let's get rocking and rolling. The format of this is the same every week. We do it every Thursday minus events. Like next week, we're not doing it. We're in Dallas. But every week I bring in a leader, one of the top 100 agents in the company. I'm really, really excited to have Vincent in here today. And what we're going to do is, if you're not talking, do me a favor, mute your line just so we don't have background noise. But what I'd like to do is Vincent, the first 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you want it to be. Gene Frederick went for an hour and 45 minutes in my 15-minute window. But really, we have the first half hour to get points from you, to get your story and have you edify your journey at EXP. And we record this session of it from a leader's perspective. And then we go into making live dials, where I make live dials. I encourage other people to make live dials to agents. And we don't record that portion for obvious reasons. I used to record them. And my worst fear was having Simone get recruited and then a year later join and then watch one of my recordings and watch me doing a live, challenge and takeaway conversation with her. So we got rid of that part, but it is live. Sometimes they go great, sometimes they don't. And we've heard everything from I'm divorcing that son of a bitch to them having really, really good times in their lives right now. So we get it all. But we've got a good crowd on here today. Again, let me get the last couple people in here. After about 5 or 10 minutes, I won't let anybody else in. Just, it's disruptive to keep having people pop in and out. So my rule is to be here by 7 minutes within the start time. So, that's kind of the expectation boundary there. But with that said, again, Vincent, thank you for being here. And I have your bio, but I would not do it any justice. I know your bio is 3 times longer than what I have. So with your permission, I'd like you to brag on yourself for a few minutes. I'm asking you and begging you to ham it up a little bit. Brag on yourself. Let us know your background. Let us know your history with the EXP. And if I could, I'd love to turn it over to you and have you just take it away for us.
Sure. It's great to see everyone. I see some familiar faces. Simone, Kayla, good to see you guys. And I'm happy to meet the rest of you. Hopefully we could get some referral business going and just connect EXP a little bit tighter, right? So
what's your market, Vincent? What's your market for that?
Yeah, I'm in New York City.
Okay, awesome.
So I'm 22 years in the business, second generation. Parents started a brokerage a while back, and I jumped in and twisted their arm and made them join a franchise. We chose Exit Realty, and timing was right. We went from 18 agents to by the time we moved over to EXP, close to 350 agents in 3 locations. So
that's amazing.
My markets in New York were, I had an office in Manhattan. I had one in Queens. I had one on Long Island. And the mentality was, in order to make more money, we have to open up more offices, right? And right after that first one, I realized that maybe this wasn't the right thing. And right after I opened the second one, that's what I was thinking. But after I opened up the third one, I knew, I said, I'm stretching myself out too thin, right? Margins were shrinking.
Right.
We had to go out there and get more management, more staff, more resources. And, it just didn't make sense. And then I had agents that would come up to me, and I had this one agent, this was probably like 4 years ago. She came up to me and she said, hey, Vincent, I gave you $80,000 this year,
Mm,
right? What did you do for me?
wow. That's a tough broker
And
question.
yeah, yeah. And I said, hey, you have your own office, a little private office, you could use our printer, copier, scan. She's like, listen, I could do that all by myself, right?
Yeah. For
What's
$7 grand a
really
month, you
keeping
could buy a lot of that.
right? And that was a wake up call. That was a wake up call. And, that's when I knew I was in the wrong place. And, I was trying to figure out a way out. And for
What
those
year
of you
was
that
this,
are working,
Vincent?
probably 2018 is when
Okay.
we had that conversation. 2019, I made the move.
Okay.
For those of you that have dealt with franchises, we're stuck. These franchise owners, man, we're stuck. We're stuck in these contracts. And, I had 3 of them, and the way that they set me up was terrible. I mean, they had me set up in staggered contracts,
Oh yeah.
right? So
So
every couple
all in on
years.
one, all in all 3.
Yep. Yep. Every couple years I had to pay renewals,
Mm,
and it was killing me. And I just felt like this, I was paying rent. I was paying rent to these guys to be here,
right.
and I was just spinning agents out, getting them in, getting them productive, and then watching them go into another office that gave them a little bit more, missing that big partnership aspect that we get here at EXP.
Yeah.
Right. So now that I've made that move, that agent, that um, came to me and said that, she's now my partner, right?
I
And
love it.
she's got a huge team, and she's growing all by herself. And no longer do we have those conversations,
I
right?
love it.
Now it's like, hey, how do you do this? Or how can I help your group? How could we do an event together? Whatever it is.
I love that. So when did you join EXP Realty?
August of 2019.
Okay, August 2019. And how many agents were you able to bring over in that transition?
So I brought on I think it was about 60 of my own.
Okay.
And then they brought on some of the other groups. So I didn't put them all under me. I had them
Oh, so
set
you
up
brought
just
50
because
front line, 60 front line.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
Which is a beautiful opportunity, right? That's taking advantage of the
Yeah,
compensation model to the max.
yeah, definitely. And I had a number of listen, the franchise really tried to hurt me on the way out, so they did things to really hold on to their agents.
Of
And
course.
I didn't fight them too much. I was just happy to be out. So I just took what I had, and I left. And I said, let me just rebuild. And
Mhm.
I did have a good head start. I think after the dust cleared, I probably had about 150 that moved over.
That's amazing. So if we have a broker that has 30 to 200 agents in the future that watches this, what advice would you give them looking back at this in the rearview mirror?
If you could get to 30 to 50 agents in your own individual brokerage, wow, you could build a massive organization at EXP Realty.
Mm.
Right? You just have to really understand. And the nice thing is there's so many of us that have done it already now.
That's right. It's not a unproven concept. It's been proven now dozens of times, and we've got lots of case study for that, right?
Right. Right.
Uh,
So no longer do we have to go out there and just say it. We could just introduce, right?
I love that.
Now we don't have to sell it ourselves anymore. All we have to do is connect them to somebody that's done it already.
I love it. And I love the metrics of this. Like, it took you how long to build your office to about 3 offices with, I think you said about 300 agents overall, right? In your whole envelope with all those different franchises and agreements. How long did it take you to build to 300?
2 generations.
2 generations.
Yeah,
Wow.
my parents and myself.
And then I'm going to ask you how your parents transitioned in this mentally and physically and all that as well. But so now you've been in EXP, you know, what, 3 years, coming up
3
on 4
years.
years?
Yeah. Mhm.
3 years.
3
So
years.
what does, 3 years, August, what does your business look like now in terms of agent partners?
I'm not super proud of the number. I think that, we could all do a little bit better. But right now I'm right at 500. And I've got 76 frontline right now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you got
suffered.
76 FLAs.
Yeah. And we're in New York, and I don't know if you guys are sponsoring in New York. You all should. But we have some unique challenges.
I was going to
in
say there's
branch
been
offices.
significant challenges. I wouldn't call them unique. I'd call them significant, at least in the last few years. Is it getting
Yeah.
better?
It is, and that's what I really hold on to, right? Because I know that I'm in the right place, and I know that issues will get solved along the way. So I'm just pushing forward. I mean,
Yeah.
and the problems that Randy is talking about is our branch office issues,
Mhm.
right? Not being open, and that was what I was promising my partners as I came in.
Right.
So it was kind of like, come in here, we could open up an office, and we really went out there. We got like 10 brokerages to join immediately with us.
Right.
And then they said, nope, you can't keep your offices. And
We had a couple, we experienced that. We had a couple of significant offices in New York commit to us, 20, 60 agents, 27 and 60 or something along those lines. And, it went backwards. So we had to unring that bell, and we're kind of waiting for things to get better. So we understand what you're talking about. So to clarify, because we saw the question, what are the challenges? New York specifically is not seeing EXP as a brokerage entity with a physical location. Each broker basically needs their own location, correct?
Not really. See, the issue is we're not able to have physical branch offices.
Okay, so you're not allowed to have a physical branch office at all. Okay, so it's the other way. The individual team leaders like yourself can't have branch offices that are in the state.
Correct.
Only the broker of the state effectively can have one office, right?
Yeah, but they don't. So it's only Regis.
Right. So that's an interesting challenge, and obviously you've overcome it. Do you know what the agent count in New York is now roughly for EXP?
It's right around 2,000, a little over 2,000.
Yeah, so we clearly
which is terrible.
Yeah, it is, but we're making a footprint, right? And that growth will continue to offer opportunities. So let's walk through your journey. You've been in 3 years, you have 500 agents. By the way, that's an amazing milestone. We're usually too hard on ourselves, our personality types, if you know what I'm talking about. But I think you've had massive success, and you've almost been able to double your organization in 3 years over a 2-generation build, right? That's the way I look at it. And the ceiling is blown off the building now, because you can build that empire as high as you want to and as tall as you want to. And that's the beautiful thing. And I just really honor you for coming on as a leader and supporting us with what your journey looked like and what that goes. So you have 76 FLA. How many FLQA?
Right now I am sitting at 36.
Okay, awesome. Good job.
So I bounce between all 7 levels unlocked.
I was just going to say, that's such a big number, but it's also such that, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was looking at a video on the EXP and real comparison, right? And a lot of us have been told not to talk about real. Don't give them any street credit. Don't give them any language, but they're real. I mean, it's a for real model that we've got to be looking at, and they're 1/10 of our size in every capacity, but their compensation plan stops at 5. And if you look at any of the big builders, Jake Hinder, Brinko, any of them, their level 6 and 7 are their biggest levels. And there's some mathematical certainty. We could look at organizations to where if you have 20 on your front line, you'll in a mature organization, typically about 5 years, you have 40 on level 2, 80 on level 3, 160, 320, 640, So it really grows aggressively. So when you started EXP in your first 12 months, roll back for us. How was the language? How was it perceived? What were you exploring and having conversations with other agents to help the agents on the call, maybe that don't have anybody or have one or two and just can't get that traction? Because I think it'd be easy for somebody to look at you and go, oh, he had a couple brokerages, you know, it was easier for him. We all still have to build our own businesses.
Right. Well, it's not really just me, because it's everybody in the organization, right? Like they're all trying to build. So I'm always trying to see this through them. I'm not out there as much as I am interested in going out there and getting more frontline agents, and you know, I'm there. It's gonna come for me, right? So I'm
Yeah.
more concerned about helping my individual agents go out there and get their first, get their second, get their fifth, get their 10th, right?
Right.
So I'm constantly thinking about what I need to put in front of them, like what you're doing with your group, right? To get them to push to that next level.
Right.
Right.
So
I could give you a couple of those things if you want.
Yeah, please,
today,
please.
you
And we
know,
have some team leaders on the call. We have some individual agents, and you know, we have people that are poised to grow to 100 agents in their organization the first year and beyond. So Vincent also Mark just asked, how do you place 60 agents when you first come over? Do they all come on your front line, or you put some agents under each other?
Those 60 were all on my front. I probably came with about 150.
So do you see in the beginning of your career, this is a big question actually, do you see any value of spreading them out in your other agents? Or some people say, well, you know, I want to put them under to build enthusiasm and excitement in them. I saw you shake your head immediately. You're with me on this, is because the model doesn't support that kind of behavior. The model doesn't support that building mechanism.
Yeah, I really don't believe in that. I feel like, you know, you should go out there and earn it, and we could teach you how to do it. But I think for a broker coming through, they should be able to go out there and reap the benefits of having everybody on their front line. I didn't set it up that way. You know, just because the model that I came from already had a kind of a revenue share system. It was a single level revenue share system that they have. So I just kept the other people in place.
I love
Make
it.
sense?
Yeah, totally. For me, I just want to make sure some of the newer agents or the people that are really going after this understand that. So when you create entitlement by giving people away, it creates more entitlement in my experience. And this compensation model, basically for this argument's a width model, right? It's kind of a traditional plan versus a binary that is only two legs, right? Then you could stack people under people for significant benefit to everybody else involved. But this model is designed, and actually it's part of the sustainability of the model, is you have to build width, right? And they only pay you based on that width and opening up other levels. So I could tell you from experience, I've given away 17 frontliners mistakenly. And I did that thinking I'm creating partners and value and support and all this stuff. But forget about the entitlement piece for a minute. It's still just bad business in this model. And so I've had these conversations with several of my leaders, and I'm glad you're bringing it up. What about teams? So the caveat to this, Vincent, is if I say I bring over a team leader or a mega agent that has 15 agents, and you have one agent that's brought in 6 of their friends and another agent brought their sister, then I'll let that alignment stay intact, you know, rather than taking the 6 away that person brought to the brokerage, and
Right.
keep some value in that hierarchy of who came over under who. But other than that, it really should go frontline to you as the team leader.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And how do you, Mark asked about, what about teams? How do you handle teams that would be coming over? Say you get a team of 40 agents and you have a mega agent that runs the team. Is it the same principle?
Same principle.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't change.
And I give the team leader the flexibility of making the decision on their own.
Right.
Right. I'll offer them guidance and experience, and I'll put them in front of other people for their opinions, but they're the ones that decide.
Yeah. And I know your answer to this, but I'm going to set you up with a question. So you get an agent that just comes into the office and says, I like what you guys are doing. I want to be part of EXP, and they reach out to you. Do you give that to somebody on your team that is,
No, not generally. The only people that I give away are the orphan leads that come in. Okay, so I don't know if everybody understands the orphan lead system at EXP, but you should understand it, because you should make yourself or have people identified for those orphan leads for your influencer to place.
that's
Okay,
a great,
so
it's a great takeaway. So give them the 30-second version of the orphan program.
Orphan leads are people that reach out to EXP that don't have a sponsor. Okay, so what EXP does is they give it out to the influencers based on location, and the influencer can place it to somebody in their organization that has two requirements. Number one, they're producing, and number two, they have no sponsors of their own.
Right.
Okay, so everybody, you guys all have somebody in your organization that is already productive, but doesn't have any sponsors. And what EXP wants you to do is, wants the influencer to do is introduce that agent, set up a three-way call, and you guys help them in together.
Exactly. And so for the people on the call that don't have anybody under you, or if you have somebody under you that doesn't have anybody under them, as one of those requirements, you can't have anybody in your downline or as a junior partner, right? Email or get a hold of your upline, meaning that your senior partner, somebody that's in the leadership portion of your organization, it's available in your back office now, and let them know that, hey, Ann doesn't have anybody in EXP yet. She's in production. Keep her in mind for the orphan program. That's very valuable. We went through my whole organization and emailed everybody that didn't have one, so they knew what it was. And we put a program together to try and place those people when we can. But it's valuable for stock options and growth and really getting people into momentum.
Definitely.
We've got great stories around that. I've got agents that were really struggling on the fence with this EXP thing, cloud-based and all this. And all of a sudden they go, hey, I got stocks. Where'd I get these stocks? And I'm like, that's because we placed that orphan under you. That agent did a deal. You're getting stocks for the agent joining. You're getting stocks for their deal. And they're like, this is amazing. And so it changed the dynamic of belief system around stocks. And that's why the orphan can be really powerful. So do me a favor, walk me through your normal day. You've got a lot going on. Are you still in transactional business with your team?
I am, because I feel like I've just started building this mega icon team. And so I've been out there getting listings for the team.
Right.
So I just get listings and I place it in there, and they handle everything else.
Yeah, I love
that
it.
also, keeps me in practice, and it gives me credibility, and allows me to be in front of more agents as well.
Agreed. I like that. Similar is what we're doing out here in Oregon. And so what's your daily agent attraction commitment, or what's your daily routine look like?
I'm out there trying to shake the tree every once in a while, because we all talk to so many people along the way, right? Networking events, cooperating agents, training classes,
Yeah.
you name it. And you don't really know when somebody's ready unless you go out there and ask them, right? So I have somebody who's, in application right now. And it was just, I've been talking to this person for 5 years. I was trying to get him into my former brokerage, and we were just touching base. And, we live in such a distracted world right now that it's hard to keep anything front of mind for anybody, right? So every once in a while, we just have to go out there and shake the tree, right? Stop flirting with stop sales flirting, and
Right. Stop sales flirting. That's a good one.
Right. So I shot this guy a text at night. It was like 9 something at night. And I said, when are we going to get together and talk about your move to EXP Realty? Right.
Ooh, that's bold.
And it was just, and he responded the next morning. And he said, do you have time today? I said, I do. I have time before 11 o'clock or in the afternoon. He said, I'll come by at 10. he came by, we sat down for an hour, and he filled out his app that day.
I love it. What's the scary part of that? What's the worst thing that can happen in that bold statement?
I just keep him on the tree.
Yeah, he's just on the tree still. He's been there for 5 years. By the
Yeah.
way, that beats my record. I have 3 years and 2 months that we stayed in constant monthly contact. And then, finally it started warming up a little bit. And then you get the call, okay, I've been looking long enough. What's the next step? That was literally his response to how are you doing this week, right? It was like a monthly follow-up, and his response is, okay, what's the next step? And so that's the purpose of follow-up.
Yeah. You know what? I went to, what was the last shareholders, and I met this a young guy over there that he didn't do any business in his former brokerage. And then when he came over to EXP, he did fantastic, right? 6 months, he did a few $1 million. And
that story is very familiar to a lot of people.
Absolutely. Right. So then all of a sudden, people in the industry started noticing, and they started calling him, and they would, how'd you do it? Let me follow you. I'll come, I'll join. And what he said was, they started joining me, and I felt a responsibility to, all of a sudden be their team leader. Okay. And he said, I quickly realized that I don't have the skill set to be a team leader. And that's, it was a huge mistake. So people were coming in, they weren't getting what he was promising or what they were hoping to get.
Right.
And then they were leaving. Right. So he said, now what I do is I go in there, as I bring people in, I'm just the matchmaker. I'll put them in front of the other teams that already have the system set up. And he's like, the weight's off my shoulders. I know they're going to be taken care of because they have systems in place, and they get their people active. They're happy. I check in on them every once in a while. I'm still there for them as their sponsor. And he's built a fantastic organization using that model.
That's amazing. To me, that was a mic drop moment. Come to EXP, increase your production. People are going to be watching. That is your open door to conversations about how it helped your business, specifically transactional business, right? That's a mic drop. So I want you guys to let that soak in for a minute. If you come to EXP and you try to get out of doing 25 deals a year and become a recruiter and a tractor, and all of a sudden that you're not attractive to other agents at that point, right? You may become at a later date, but production is the basis and the backbone of EXP's success. Now we're the #1 transaction business in the industry now. So using that to your value proposition, and then showing that EXP can increase your business, can be a significant opportunity for you to then get out of production at a future date.
Agreed. Another thing that I've been doing, and I think this is something that you guys could all, potentially duplicate as well, is we use a program called Meetup, right? Meetup's around for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So we put together a Meetup group. I think we called it a Real Estate Toolbox. Okay. And we put together little trainings every week, live trainings every week, Thursday at 11 o'clock. It's going on right now, actually. And we'll have guest speakers, different topics. Sometimes we'll just have roundtable masterminds.
I love that.
And they're always sponsored. So we always have lunch coming in.
I love it.
So we do an hour and a half, and then we do a networking lunch.
I love it. Where do you do those meetups at?
So I have an office that I work out of that we do that at,
Okay.
and it's been great. Not only does it help the production of the group, but it gives them an opportunity to invite people to something.
I love that. And is it virtual as well? They could plug into it live stream, or is it just in person?
That is just in person,
I
right?
love
So
it.
we have our live stream events for the group, but this one's in person, and we've done it for the last 15 weeks, and it's been great. What's really been great are the ones that we have roundtables where we set up the chairs in a circle and throw a topic out and just open discussion. And those are really
that's brilliant. Andrea and I are doing events here in Oregon. That's a great layout concept is a round table where you just put a big circle if you have 10 people or 40 people. So how many people started at this? And then how many people are you getting now after 15 weeks?
So we have, we usually fluctuate between 25 and 40 guests.
That's good.
We have a group of, I think it's 195 in Meetup that I guess see the invitations every week as they go out.
I love it. That's beautiful. So you've been great today. Really appreciate you, and I value your time. I want to honor you getting back to your busy schedule as well. Any closing words, any words of wisdom for the people watching the call or the recording later?
Well, I think it's important to really just know the people in your organization, right? Like attend and plug in. I think that's where we lose our people, is the ones that don't plug in. So if you're going to bring somebody in, make sure they're next to you at these meetings, right? You know, come, you know, you guys are all here, but your group is way bigger than the people that are here, right? So, and you guys all have sponsors, they should be in the room with you. That's how we duplicate.
I love that. I think that's a great takeaway. Vincent, I really appreciate you. Meetup, is that an app as well? Do you know?
Yeah, it's an app as well, but it's also available online. But
Okay.
it's the same as Eventbrite or you know, any of these other invitation
Okay,
type
cool.
programs, right? Mind if I hang out for your calls?
Absolutely, you're welcome to. Please do.
Appreciate
So we're
it.
gonna
Thank you, everyone.
we're gonna end this portion. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and let me stop this real quick.